there, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us on UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. Gosh, a pretty busy day in news. In case you haven't heard yet, pretty historic day actually in Manhattan. So a Manhattan jury found Donald Trump guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records in his New York hush money trial. So Trump is now the first president in U.S. history to be convicted of a felony. His sentencing date is July 11th. So there's still a lot of unknowns of what this looks like for his campaign and for the election. But we're going to have much more on that tonight on Up North Live News at 11. Right now, I am going to bring in our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix from the Storm Team Weather Center. And Joe, we didn't have a 5 o'clock show tonight because of a special report with the Trump verdict. So we didn't really get to talk much weather, and it's a little bit in the 6 p.m. show, but it was another nice day out there today. And it sounds like tomorrow might be another repeat.
Yeah, I think we're kind of like right in the middle of it right now, that nice stretch. We had a beautiful day, as you said, in Maya yesterday, same today, and probably more tomorrow. The only thing is, if you have weekend plans, unlike last weekend where we had a lot of rain, I don't think it'll be like that, but we may see some showers around on Saturday. So we'll kind of show you a little bit more on that coming up a little later in the show. And next week looks a little active too. So we'll talk more about that coming up.
All right. Yep. We'll see you again in a few minutes, Joe. But for now, I'm going to pull up our question of the day, which is, do you think employers should provide workers paid time off so they can vote? Right now, 43% are saying yes, 57% say no. So if you haven't voted yet, be sure to scan the QR code on your screen now. And just to give you a little bit of background on where this question is coming from, I'm going to take down our question of the day. I will put it back up in a second, but I'm just going to play some video. This is from the 2024 MACNA Policy Conference, and this was yesterday, where Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson was joined by Detroit Regional Chamber CEO and Michigan business leaders to launch a new collaboration aiming to support Michigan elections. And they've committed to 3 things in 2024. One of those is ensuring employees have time off to vote during the early voting period or on election day. So that's why we have our question of the day, which again is, do you think employers should provide workers paid time off so they can vote? Taking a look at our comments on our Facebook post right now. Actually, I'm going to go to our website just to see how many people. Okay, 172 people have voted so far. So we will check in on that a little bit later. But we only have 7 comments on our Facebook post today. I will read some of those comments. So let's see. Marty says, yes, he does think employers should provide workers paid time off so they can vote. David said either that or make it election week instead of election day so people can find time to come by without missing work. And something interesting about that is, now that we do have early voting and absentee voting options available, it almost does seem like we do have election week. Obviously, there is still election day as like your last day that you can vote. But, we saw recently with the new changes in Michigan that you can vote early now. So that is another interesting topic that we could go into a little more in depth. But I'll read some more comments. Kyle says we should be treating this day as Christmas. Maybe a little bit of sarcasm there. Hard to tell over a Facebook comment. Mar says that's ridiculous. Of course not. Brian says I have no issues with this. William says it should be a national holiday. Swap it in place of Columbus Day. Gail says just make it a national holiday. And those are most of the comments on our Facebook post. So we do want to know what you have to think about this. But that is an interesting point. What if we did just make it a national holiday and people could get the day off and could vote? That would ensure everyone has the option to vote, no obstacles standing in their way. So very interesting topic. And again, we want to hear what you have to say about this. So be sure to scan the QR code on your screen now to vote. And speaking of the MACNA Policy Conference, so that's been going on and it wrapped up. I believe it's wrapping up today at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island. And, some of the different discussion topics included electric vehicles, infrastructure, artificial intelligence. But one interesting thing that also happened, or should I say didn't happen at the conference was hoping to host a Senate debate with candidates looking to fill the seat of retiring Senator Debbie Stabenow. However, it was canceled when 2 of the top candidates pulled out. So our Daniel Zivian, he's been on the island covering this story today, and he actually talked with some candidates who were upset over the cancellation of the debate, and he looked into why exactly it was canceled. So I'm going to play Daniel's story right now, if I can get my mouse to work. And then when we come back, we're going to check in with Danny and debrief this topic a little more.
Policy conference is supposed to be a forum for discussion and debate about Michigan's top priority issues. But one of the most important debates between the Senate candidates for this November's election was canceled, in spite of the 3 candidates who agreed to it and are here at the conference. The Detroit Chamber says the conference has had bipartisan Senate debates for over a decade. This year's would have been a big deal, both parties competing for Debbie Stabenow's seat. But according to Chamber Executive Brad Williams, Republican candidate Mike Rogers called to say he wouldn't participate. Shortly after that, Democratic candidate Alyssa Slotkin called, saying she wouldn't debate if Rogers bowed out. I asked Williams why this all happened.
It seems apparent from conversations both publicly and privately that both the frontrunners want to skip the primary, that they want to ignore their Republican and Democrat opponents and not give Michiganders a choice until November.
Meanwhile, what was supposed to be the first major play for first-time candidates fizzled out.
The only way the voter understands where the candidates stand is by listening to them and letting them debate.
They should understand the record, where people are, and make informed decisions, and Mike Rogers is trying to deny them that opportunity. I think it'll backfire on Mike. I think it was the wrong decision.
Alyssa Slotkin is the establishment favorite. I am the disruptor. I am the contrarian. I'm the guy that's out there saying the stuff.
It's the hallmark of both Alyssa Slotkin and Mike Rogers, career politicians. It's bad for the country, and I think it'll be rejected ultimately by the people of Michigan.
If those 3 candidates are here and they agreed to debate, why not hold a debate with them?
I think a debate that doesn't include all of the participants, all of the candidates, would be a limited conversation and of limited utility to voters. We think a debate that includes all voices is the best conversation.
Ultimately, I was unable to interview Hill Harper, the other Democratic candidate who agreed to the debate, but like Beydoun and Penzler, Harper is a first-time candidate for public office. On Mackinac Island, Daniel Zivian, Up North Live News.
All right, now let's bring in Danny Zivian live from Mackinac Island, just about to hop on a ferry. So, Dan, thanks so much for joining us before you do head back to Petoskey tonight. So, very interesting story today. So, of course, those candidates that you spoke with, they are upset they didn't get the chance to debate. Do you think there will be any other chances in the future, or is this kind of it?
Well, thank you for having me on, Maya. I don't know if there's other chances in the future. And if there are, certainly the Mackinac Policy Conference seems to be the main one, because it seems to be one of the only big events with so many state leaders from different areas of government and industry. It seems to be the biggest event in one place that happens before the primary. So this debate would have been very important for, getting established like that. And just for clarity, since we don't have the luxury of our graphics in this particular format, the first guy who spoke, the first candidate who spoke and had a soundbite was Nasser Beydoun from Dearborn. And the second one was Sandy Penzler from Grosse Pointe. Nasser Beydoun is one of the Democrats, and Sandy Penzler is the other Republican in this scenario. And I both caught them. This is how the policy conference works. I was walking up and down the world's longest front porch, and I ran into both of them, pulled them aside. Hey, can I talk to you for a few minutes? And they said yes, which was very nice of them to do so. Guy comes up and accosts you with his equipment and says, hey, can I talk to you? But
So were Alyssa Slotkin and Mike Rogers there?
So Mike Rogers does not seem to have been there. I certainly didn't see him. I did reach out to his campaign online. Slotkin was a bit more complicated. She actually was there for at least some of the day. I spoke to, and so when I was reaching out to the Slotkin campaign, I was actually speaking to someone directly, and nothing ever came of it. I didn't see them again, and although she had my numbers and said she would text, that is to say the representative, not Slotkin herself, that text never came in either. And at a certain point, you have to buckle down and get your stuff done. However, we do have a general idea of what both we have more of an idea of what Slotkin's campaign wanted, which is that they declined as a response to what Mike Rogers did. To have gotten a comment from Mike Rogers actually explaining why he didn't do this debate would have been very valuable, because really, when I asked Brad Williams that question, I said, I asked him a question, and then you heard his direct response to that. That he just sort of said, it seems clear in private conversations and public ones that the candidates want to skip the primaries. A comment from Mike Rogers might be able to provide a little bit more that Brad Williams might not be in a position to provide to us on his own terms. But yeah, so there's definitely a gap there that this should have happened in the first place.
And hopefully, of course, your story did already air, but hopefully you will still hear back from Mike Rogers' campaign at some point, just to get a little more clarification on this.
Absolutely. It's a shame it couldn't be here, because this is a really cool place. For those of you who don't know about the Mackinac Policy Conference, everyone is here. Literally everyone. And it's a little overwhelming to just be walking around like that, but it's a really cool experience that I wouldn't have traded for the world. And I was glad I got to cover something, not just a panel, but also this was an important story. This was unprecedented. I was told by Brad Williams, this hadn't happened in the 15 years they'd been doing Senate debates when they've come up. They said it's never happened like this.
So they normally do have a Senate debate if there is an open seat for Senate during this conference?
Yeah, it seems so. And that would mean Stabenow and Peters would have had to go up and defend their records at the most recent debates. And Brad says, yeah, they've done it. There has never been a problem for them. And unprecedented was the word.
And something that was interesting, that I believe it was Brad Williams in your story who said this. He said that, they didn't want to still have a debate because without all of the candidates, it's not really as fair. But I think what's interesting about this Senate race is a lot of people do know about Alyssa Slotkin and Mike Rogers, where a lot of people probably don't know as much about the other candidates running. So I almost feel like it would have been beneficial for us as voters to still have had a debate with these other candidates that maybe aren't as well known.
I would certainly have to agree. Just from a media perspective, the best way for us as journalists to learn things is to hear people talk. That's what my job is. I go to people and I ask them to talk, and that's what happens. So yeah, for us not to have that opportunity, it does cast a pall on it. I only got to know Nasser Beydoun and Sandy Pensler for a very brief amount of time. If they had gotten the opportunity to debate, I would probably know a lot more about these two as individuals and as potential politicians. And I say potential just because neither of these two candidates have been politicians before. They've never served in public office. And as I said in the package, that goes for the third candidate who I wasn't able to run into. These three guys, they've never held public office. So not only was this like an opportunity they could have had to reach out to people, they've never been on a stage this big before as politicians. This is like an important debutante experience like that. So that's another layer to this particular story.
Well, Danny, I know you have to catch a ferry, so I'll let you go. But thanks so much for joining us and for digging a little deeper into your story. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely. There's a time to go to Mackinac Island, and then there's a time to leave Mackinac Island. And so I'm going to get going.
All right. See you, Danny. And it is time for us to take a break here on UpNorthLive Unscripted. I'm going to put our question of the day back up on the screen for those of you watching online, and we'll check in with Joe Charlevoix after the break. Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted. Let's bring in Joe from the Storm Team Weather Center. And Joe, you mentioned earlier that it's been a nice couple days that should continue into tomorrow, but may see a little bit of rain on Saturday.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot, but it's the chance isn't zero. We'll put it that way. So we may see a little bit of rain Saturday, and then next week too. Maya looks a little more active. We've had kind of a nice stretch here now. The last few days, so that's going to carry over. Maya, you ever see this view? I'll show the. Let me share the screen here. Do you know where this is?
Ooh, let's see it. Oh, that's across the street from our studio here in Traverse City.
Yeah, out toiling the soil or tilling. They're putting some crops in. Farmers across the street. On why not? Nice day today. It's dry. A couple days here to get some of the crops in the ground. 65 degrees. One thing I do want to show. We show this a lot. The drought monitor. Remember? I don't know if you remember this, Maya, because you're here with me every night. We had a lot of northern Michigan in that yellow just a couple months ago.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Abnormally dry. Even a moderate drought in the UP in some spots. That has really pretty much all gone because of all the rain we've had recently. So that's good news. We've seen a lot of improvement just in the amount of moisture that we have in the ground. Here's a look at our satellite picture tonight. Not much happening here. It is nice and quiet. We'll head out west, and that's where we do have a few showers and storms here over the last, let's stop this last 2 hours from Fargo into the Dakotas. Now, that is eventually what may get here towards Saturday. A little bit of that rain. And then way down here, multiple areas of thunderstorms. Here earlier, some storms rolling through Dallas. This is down in Texas. And then we have a tornado watch, that red box there, and all the way up into the panhandle of Texas. Some active weather there. That's way, way south of us. Again, back home in northern Michigan, it's dry and pretty quiet out there. So here's our thoughts right now in the next few days. Nothing tonight, nice and clear. Tomorrow, just a few fair weather clouds, a nice day. There's our Friday afternoon. You see some rain way, way west of us. That won't get in here until right into Saturday. Now, I do think it's going to be a pretty cloudy Saturday, and then you see some of these showers right there. So, maybe a little bit of rain. We have the Mansalona Bass Festival. Look at that, 70s all 3 days. Tomorrow, nice. Saturday, Sunday, fantastic weather tomorrow. Yes, there's the chance for a couple showers Saturday, but no all-day rain. And in Roscommon, we have the Kirtland's Warbler Festival. That's tomorrow and Saturday. Both spots in the 70s, some clouds around on Saturday. Again, maybe a couple of late-day showers. If you're wondering about frost tonight, nope, I don't think we're going to get any of that. There's the dry weather tomorrow and a few showers. Sunday looks nice, early day fog. And then next week it does look active. Some showers and storms perhaps later Monday, and then another round of showers and storms, it looks like perhaps Wednesday into Thursday. So another chance for some rain rolling in next week, Maya, as we look ahead here.
All right. Well, Joe, thank you so much. We are going to take one more break on Up North Live Unscripted. When we come back, we will check in with our sports director, Harrison Beebe. He cannot join us live, so we're just going to show you his Jimmy John's Sports Corner package that he's working on for this week. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
The Traverse City Alliance Rugby Football Club has just been putting the finishing touches on an unbeaten regular season, and they're hoping to do some big things come the playoffs that begin this Saturday with the quarterfinals. 3 of those guys paid a visit to the studio this week to help talk about the team's success and that push for a state championship. That's a part of our latest Jimmy John's Sports Corner.
The following segment is sponsored by Jimmy John's of Traverse City.
My first year was 2 years ago when I was a sophomore. I had a friend come over to my house and say, hey, I see that you're not doing much this spring. You want to come out and try this crazy sport? And I said, hey, why not?
He guilt tripped you, huh?
He did. He really,
man.
I mean.
And it worked.
It worked.
It's an effective strategy because that same friend that guilt tripped him guilt tripped me in the fall during my football season. And he tried to get me to come out, promising it was going to help me be better for what I wanted to do in life and chase my goals. So I tried it out, and I just love the game ever since. It's just got a certain flow, a controlled chaos to it that makes one love it.
So it's majority Central St. Francis and Kingsley.
Yeah.
Which are 3 pretty impressive football programs, and you guys kind of harped on the similarities between the two.
Our football athletes did come out, but then a lot of soccer kids also come out because there's also the kicking part. A lot of people just don't know about it, so they get scared when they see no pads, full contact, but there's so many rules to it that I think it's less dangerous than it is football.
Tell me a little about the momentum. Obviously, things are clicking. You haven't suffered a loss yet.
And it's been every week, just your eyes just looking forward. What do we need to do? We need to get this done, and this done. Whatever our coaches tell us, that's what we got to execute. And they know what they're doing because we've got the results.
Past 2-3 years, our team has scrapped in the semis and the finals. And so this year we're trying to take home the trophy, but it's not going to be easy come semifinals time. Finals time, you're going to have to really grit it out.
What does that mean to you to know you've got this sport, especially, wanting to grow it in popularity too? You've got this sport in such rarefied air.
It's been tough losing in the finals 2 years in a row, but I think this year we're got such a good team. We're going to go in, we're going to do our best, and I think we got the best shot we've had in a while to take it home.
The Traverse City Pittsburghers are 3-1 on the young season after the Bats exploded this afternoon in the game against the Kokomo Jackrabbits, part of a 10-5 win there. The Tigers out in Boston tonight facing the Boston Red Sox. And girls soccer districts taking place tonight. Girls finals, Elk Rapids hosting Leland in Division 4. We'll get you those highlights tonight during sports at 11. That'll do it for sports for now. We'll be right back.
Gosh, I'm not used to seeing Harrison standing in his Jimmy John's Sports Corner. We're going to take a quick break here on Up North Live Unscripted, and we'll see you after the break. Let's take one last look at our question of the day. Do you think employers should provide workers paid time off so they can vote? Results haven't changed too much. 43% of people say yes, 57% say no. If you haven't voted yet, scan that QR code on your screen now to vote. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Up North Live Unscripted at 6:30. Be sure to join us tonight at 11. We're going to have much more on Donald Trump being found guilty on all 34 counts in his New York City hush money criminal case. So join us at 11 o'clock tonight. We will see you then, and enjoy your time in between now and 11 o'clock, everyone. Take care.